Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Welcome back to Little Shop of Nerds, especially for the holiday season. I'm Santa Claus, ho, ho, ho. But I'm not hosting, so here's your two lovely hosts. Mike, what's up?
Hi, I'm Julia.
Oh, thanks, Santa. Ho, 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 no problem. You said you got whiskey? I'm like, yeah, it's in the cupboard. Ho, ho, thank you. Hey, can you pour me some? It's like, the season's about giving, not receiving. Well, can you receive me some whiskey? No, goodbye. You little lush. Alright, if you hear something, a little muffling from Jules today is she's got a cold.
I have a cold. I have a mask on to minimize the risk of Mike catching whatever I have. So if I sound muffled, it's just I have a mask on.
And if you hear a little bit of like a buzz going on, it's...
My laptop.
And I know you're going to say, why couldn't you guys just took the day off about it? I'm like, I really didn't thought of that at first.
I mean, with it being so early into our YouTube career, I guess you could say.
We just really can't afford it.
We can't really afford to take any days off. Plus, that would just throw everything off completely.
Especially with our list that we make on what we record.
Yeah, we make our list weeks in advance.
Even months ahead of it.
Yeah, the list that we have now, I think we made back in October.
Yeah.
So we make these in advance to throw everything off.
We even do some notes, try to do what's right, and hopefully you guys understand. But I understand you're going to say, why do you guys get the laptop fixed? And I'm like, guys, we work for peanuts.
Yeah, we don't make very much at our job. So I will try to get that fixed as soon as possible. Probably won't be until after the new year, after Christmas and everything like that, because I am completely broke right now. I just got my last 2 Christmas gifts.
Yeah, that's the holidays for you.
I just gotta wrap them, and I am done with Christmas. Well, Charlie wants something, and I might get it for him, because that's just how I am.
I would like, for me, I want for Christmas is that I would like to get that Dr. Squash soap.
Yeah?
Yeah, the one that
makes you smell like Harry Potter.
Yeah, and by the way, Dr. Squash ain't sponsoring us, so we're just going to put that out there. I'm just mentioning it because I saw it on the website.
Yeah, and then it started showing up on my Facebook account.
For some reason. I think it's because you like Harry Potter.
They listen.
Mm-hmm.
Our phones listen to us.
Yeah, it's called the government tracking us.
Like, Charlie and I were talking about engagement rings one time, and we'll talk about getting married, and then engagement rings started showing up on my Facebook page.
Yep. Now, speaking of engagement, I'm also a licensed ordained minister.
Yeah, if any of you want to get married, hire Mike.
I'll do it for free beer.
Okay, well, we're getting off topic.
But yes, we didn't do we didn't do the last week.
No, I did a post edit for the hint last week.
Okay. Well, the last week's hint was Merry Christmas, you filthy animal, or keep the change, you filthy animal. Yes, we are going to talk about our favorite holiday movie called Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. And I know you guys are going to say, well, Mike, Jules, what about the other Home Alone movies? I had to say, fuck you, nothing beats the first 2.
Yeah, I watched the third one, and I thought it was a piece of shit.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
So, the first 2 is where it's at.
Yes. And also, the third one doesn't take place in Christmas. What?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, what? Why even bother?
Yeah.
But either way.
There like 6 of them?
Yeah, so far.
They're just starting to turn out to be like the Fast and Furious movies.
Except people like the Fast and Furious movies.
I don't like the Fast and Furious.
I don't care for it.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, we're talking about Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yes. And also, this is kind of like a good time how we're saying this, because right now, Macaulay Culkin got a star on the wall, a star on the
Hollywood
The
Walk of Fame. I saw that, and he also has a child now too.
Yeah, and Catherine O'Hara was there, giving a little speech right beside him, giving like a speech and stuff.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you grew up in the 90s, then you definitely know about Home Alone 1 and 2 with Macaulay Culkin.
And and we're going to try to get through 2 movies, and you guys can watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to bring up from the first 2, or from those movies, though, so we'll get to that. So, if you're unfamiliar with Home Alone 1 and 2, which, if you are, what the fuck, guys, go watch it.
It's amazing.
It's about a kid who gets into a fight with his family, and he ends up being left home alone, basically. That's the plot of the first one.
Yep.
The second one is he gets left behind at the airport. Well, not really left behind.
He got on the wrong plane.
He got separated from his family, got on the wrong plane, and ended up alone in New York.
Yes. And pretty much...
Excuse me?
And how the first one goes, like she said, he's home alone. What it is, like Kevin's family, like his aunt, uncle, cousins, brother, sister, mom, and dad, they're going to go to Paris for Christmas. And you can tell how rich they are because they have like a freaking big house.
Well, apparently, from the way that I understand it, is a lot of people, like, a very popular theory that's going around is that Kevin's dad is part of the mob. But Kevin's mom is a fashion designer, and I think he's a businessman.
Yeah, and...
But he didn't buy the tickets. His brother, Rob, who's in Paris, bought the tickets.
Yeah, it's pretty much so. And here's another thing. Like, there's another theory that Harry and Marv are angels. That's why they can survive all the...
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, there's some that... And some say, John Candy's character, the guy, the Poker King, whatever.
Yeah.
Saying that he could have been the devil, but I'm like, okay, that's just going too far.
Yeah, that is going a little too far.
Now everyone thinks Kevin is Jigsaw
from Saw. Yeah, I've heard that one too.
And I'm like, okay, let's...
Even Macaulay Culkin was like, no.
Yeah, it's just a little too far-fetched. But, like I said, it's about they getting ready to go for a trip. And, Joe Pesci, who plays Harry, who's dressed as a cop, come ask, people about the house, if it's secure, how secure it is, like if there's alarms, you get the whole shebang. And the other part is where the whole family's getting ready. Kevin needs to go pack his suitcase. He goes ask his cousins, brothers, and sisters, and they treat him like shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, these guys are assholes.
They really are. So
even his Uncle Frank.
Yeah, I hate his Uncle Frank. His Uncle Frank can go kick rocks.
Dude, you can tell how cheap he was because when they were in first class, he asked his wife, hide the silverware.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to take them. And when Kevin's mom's like in shock that they left their kid, he said, hey, don't be too bad. I forgot my reading glasses.
Yeah, Frank is a dick.
You can tell he doesn't like him.
Yeah, so anyways, before, while Harry is there just as a police officer, the guy guy delivers pizza, and then they get into this fight in the kitchen because
his older brother Buzz
ate all the cheese pizza.
Well, took the last cheese, and
excuse me.
And I agree. I think he did do it on purpose, but that's like the role of the big brother. You're supposed to be a dick to your little sibling.
Yeah, and so because he only eats cheese pizza, Kevin does, and then he pushes Buzz, and then spills milk all over the pizza, everything, and Kevin's little boarding pass gets thrown away with all of the napkins and everything like that.
Yeah, and he goes to bed. Like I think
They send him to the attic.
to sleep with his cousin Fuller.
Yeah, but then they put Fuller somewhere else.
And one thing you know about him, his cousin Fuller is played by his little brother.
And he also went to bed.
Yes. Yeah, because Fuller is played by Macaulay Culkin's little brother.
Yeah.
And actually, what I hear, he does a lot of movies and shows nowadays.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to look up to see what he does.
And I think Macaulay Culkin came back for one season of American Horror Story, but I could be wrong.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but besides that, his mom takes him upstairs. Before he takes him upstairs, she talks to Harry and tells him what. I'm like, and also I did not know this. I was watching a movie review on Channel Awesome by Doug Walker. He's doing the same review. I'm like, damn, he's doing before we are.
Yeah.
But he just does this little zoom up on Harry's hat that doesn't spell police.
Oh.
I'm like, I have not noticed that in years.
Neither have I.
And I'm like, I am such a dumbass. And how is the fucking parents not? They're rich, and how did they not see that coming?
I mean, they probably just didn't pay attention, like we didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
So, anyways, over the night, there was a tree branch fell.
On a
Power line knocked out the power,
and
they didn't wake up on time for the American Airlines to pick them up.
You ever notice that? How you ever feel like that was like you ever feel like it was like a sponsor for that movie?
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, they always do. Movies always do product placement, sponsors, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed this. I remember having the VHS on. I used to have the VHS. I remember before the movie started, there was a little commercial saying, "Fly American." What's it called? What's it called again?
American Airlines.
He's like, "Yeah, please. When you're watching Home Alone, please remind if you got a vacation, put your request in American Airlines." I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay.
I remember that because sometimes they do that.
Yeah. So they start counting people, and they accidentally count this neighbor kid who's being very annoying.
Yeah.
And they thought that was Kevin.
Which wasn't.
Excuse me again. If I cough, please just ignore that. And it turned out that Kevin was left behind, and they didn't find out until they got to Paris.
Well, in the middle of the flight.
Oh, yeah, it is the middle of the flight. Yeah, it was lost in New York. They got to Florida and realized he was gone.
Yeah, and I remember it was like that iconic. It was like so. It was like he's like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. He's like, I must have forgot to close the garage doors. And she just lays back like Kevin.
Yeah. So then Kevin wakes up and he realizes that he's home alone. So then he starts doing stuff. Like, the power lines were down, so the phone lines were out, so they couldn't get a hold of him. They sent a police officer out to check him, but he was too scared.
Yes. And
he stole Buzz's money to do some shopping.
And he's been pretty much, like, doing whatever he wants. He's, like, also taking the BB gun, shooting our little toys around the laundry chute, and sledding inside the house, go outside. I'm like...
He went out back and cut down a little Christmas tree.
And he's watching crime noirs that looks like they're rated R, but when you pay attention, because this is where Keep the Change, You Filthy Animal comes from. He's watching a movie called Angels, Filthy Faces, Dirty, whatever it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
And what it is, it's like one of those old black and white crime movies about a guy. You get the point. And what he does when he kills the people who come to see him, very much because they're the victim or whatever.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I looked those movies out. They do not exist because sometimes they put something exists in the movie just to just do that, but there's not.
Ignore that, please.
And like I said, this was kind of like freshly new, and I'm like, man, I wish they would make a movie on that. Real movies on that.
Yeah, I found out like a couple years ago that it wasn't, a real thing. But so he uses it to like mess with the pizza guy.
So
And then he also uses it to mess with Marv when Marv was trying to when they were casing the house.
and this is what really happened. One thing about when they did with Marv, he takes like firecrackers and put it in a pot.
Yeah.
It makes it look like there was actual fire going on in the house.
Yeah. And he was like, snakes. Like, I know I've heard that voice before. So anyways, they eventually find out that he's home by himself.
Yeah, and we get this little iconic line. Merry Christmas, little fella.
Yeah.
And we know you're home alone. Then after that, shit breaks out.
Yeah, well, I mean, before all that, he also started doing stuff to show that there may be somebody living there or that they're home.
Yeah, the first time they tried it, he just turned on the lights.
Yeah, the second time he made like mannequins and stuff like that and had him like dancing around and stuff.
With what? Yeah, it was like pretty genius for a kid.
And then they found out that he was home alone. And then that's when they decided that they were going to rob the place. And then he just turns his house into a booby trap, basically.
Yeah, like shit he like had stuff hooked up. Like he takes like some kind of like what's that, like some kind of like hot iron, whatever it is. Puts it on the doorknob, and when Harry
probably a curling iron.
I wouldn't say a curling iron. It was something that could be used for something. I don't know what it was, but he hung it on the door. When Harry goes to touch it, it like brands his hand.
Yeah, I always hate that scene. That scene and the scene where Marv is in the basement and he's going up the stairs and he loses his shoes and his socks and then steps on a nail.
Yeah, well, I heard, like, if you see, you're going to wonder why he loses his shoes and socks. Because Kevin put, tar on the steps?
So then he was losing his shoes and his socks as he was going up the stairs. And then he stepped on a nail, and that always gets me too. Like, I'm just like, ew.
And he falls back. And he was like halfway up the steps. I'm like, ouch.
Yeah.
But before all that, Marv tries to turn on the basement light. It was rigged. He pulls it. It's rigged. A freaking iron came down, hits him on the head. It's like, I'm like, how the hell is he still alive?
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that happened. Like, Harry got
blowtorched on his
head. He got tarred and feathered. Marv actually ended up stepping on a bunch of glass ornaments.
And when they
shoeless.
Yep. And when they both come in the dining room, Harry's like, "What?" He's like, "Why the hell you took your shoes off?" And Marv's like, "Why the hell you dress like a chicken?"
Yeah. So then they step on some micro machines. And then they're going up the stairs and they each get hit with a paint can. They finally make it up the stairs and then they do manage to grab Kevin's ankle. But he grabs Buzz's tarantula.
That escaped.
And puts it on Harry's or Marv's face.
I heard when they make that movie, the guy who plays Marv, I heard that they had to voice in the screen because the tarantulas will bite if they're scared. Yeah. So he would have to fill in the scream.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because I noticed that the scream always seemed a little off.
Yeah, and once the tarantula was off Marv's face, it got into Harry on Harry's gut, and Marv was trying to save Harry, so he takes a freaking crowbar and hits him in the gut.
Yeah, and then they do go upstairs, see that he escaped through the window. They go after him, and they chase him across the street to a neighbor's house. that they had already been in and had clogged up the sinks because they were called the wet bandits.
That's
so their calling call was to clog all the sinks and then turn on the water and let it run.
Yeah, and they caught up to him. They caught him. They put him on like a little hook, and they said, they were going to do what he did to them. But Marv said, "I'm going to start biting like one of the little fingers." And there's also another thing. Macaulay Culkin actually did get bit on set by accident by Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
And before he did it, what's his name? I forget the
old guy's name too.
Yeah, there's a legend. If you want to know about the old guy, there's a legend say he killed his family. It wasn't true.
Yeah.
He's just old and lonely. And
he saved Kevin.
And yeah, Kevin, he goes back home. They're arrested. Kev's just by himself. Had all gifts out, and he's just...
Yeah, that was Christmas Eve when this all went down.
And Christmas Day.
Everybody showed up.
Yep. His mom got home first because she went on different planes.
But see, the thing is, if she had, waited like they were planning on, they would have made it back at the same time anyways.
Yeah, and I was like... And they said they would go to get on to, Friday or something?
Something like that, yeah.
And I'm like, hold up. Okay, if they said to leave on... So that means it was on a Friday? That means Christmas was on a Saturday? It was something that doesn't explain the idea, because it takes a long-ass flight to get back home.
Yeah, but anyways, they all ended up coming home around the same time. Now... I'm going to bring this up now, and then I'll bring it up when we start talking about the other one, the second movie. Kevin's 8 years old in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, an 8-year-old defended his home. And then that's where it ends. After Buzz yells at him for destroying his house. Or his room, I mean.
Yep.
So that's where it ends. So the second one is Lost in New York.
Yes.
And... in this one, Kevin is supposed to be 10 years old. I'll come back to that. So, they, kind of starts off the same way. He's watching this game show called Ding Dang Dong. He records
it on a Talkboy. And you guys, if you don't know what a Talkboy is, it was our thing it was a toy of a kid's recorder, pretty much.
Yeah. He records Ding Dang Dong, like the Plaza Hotel and everything like that.
I looked up that hotel.
It's expensive.
They're like $800 a night.
Yeah,
almost.
they're expensive.
And I'm like, I wish I was rich.
Yeah. So he was like, they're going to a school choir or something that.
And like I said, it's pretty much doing the same thing, but except they're going to Florida this time.
Yeah. So they're telling him that he needs to put his tie on. He's like, well, Uncle Frank's in the bathroom. And he says that if I see him naked, I'll never become a real man or something like that.
I think he was just trying to, because you never know if you're in the shower, you never know, because kids will try to prank someone.
Yeah. So he records Frank singing and then telling him off. And then they go to the school choir or whatever. Recital. And while Kevin's singing his solo, Buzz is behind him making faces and making everybody laugh. Kevin finds out, pushes him, ruins the whole thing.
And that's also another thing. He pushes him. The whole choir goes down like dominoes. I'm like, how's that work?
I mean, it's a possible. It could have happened.
I'm just like, how? But still, it's true. And it wasn't just making faces. He was taking those battery candles, putting them against his ear because Macaulay Culkin's ears were big, and you get the point. He was just making fun of Kevin.
Yeah, and the thing is, Kevin got in trouble for it again. But then he's like, Buzz is like, I'm sorry, Kevin, but then called him a trout sniffer. And Kevin's like, no. He's like, I hope I get left alone again this year. And she said that you got your wish last year. Maybe you'll get your wish again this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so now remember, he was 8 years old in the first one. Now he's 10. There's
Was
a
it?
continuity. Yep. There's a continuity problem.
And I think it was just because they did. It is a problem because if you think of it, and also Macaulay Culkin didn't look that. He kind of almost looked like he was 12 or 13
Yeah.
at the time. But yeah, you're right. At that time, he would have had. If he's 8 in the first film, and yet he's 10, that makes no sense. You say last year's, but he's like 2 years older.
And then they say the same thing when they're talking to the policeman in Florida.
Yeah, see, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But, but maybe that was something that Christopher Columbus and John Hughes wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about.
So, anyways, they do all that. They miss it again. The time that they were supposed to get up and go. They get to the airport late.
Except this time Kevin's with him.
Kevin is with them this time, yeah. And then he stops for a minute to put batteries into his Top Boy, and he sees this guy that's wearing a coat like his dad's and thought that was his dad, and he chases after him.
Went to the wrong gate.
Bumped into the lady there, and he gets him on the flight, but then he realizes that he doesn't really see anybody, and he knows, so he starts talking to this French guy, and
he's just like, and he still keeps talking, and he's like, dude, I can't speak French.
yeah, so then he puts his headphones on, gets to, when they finally reach where they're going, first we see Kevin's family in Florida.
Having his bag.
Yeah, they're handing his bag down, and they're like, hand this to Kevin, hand this to Kevin, hand this to Kevin. They get all the way down to Fuller, and he goes, here's your bag, Kevin, and then he looks up and he sees these two old people, and then he just turns around and goes, Kevin's not here, and they just hand it back through saying, Kevin's not here, Kevin's not here. Then he hands it to the mother, and then she hands it to the dad, and she's like, Kevin's not here, and he goes, what? And then she just starts laughing, she goes, Kevin! And then she falls down, and she faints right there in the airport.
Yeah, and we pretty much get the same stuff, and Kevin's in New York, he's on the town, looking at the sights.
Goes to the Plaza Hotel.
Yeah, before that, he's actually at the Twin Towers.
Yeah. This was way before 9/11, too.
Oh, yeah, it's true. But yeah, after that, he goes to the Plaza Hotel and books a room on his dad's credit card. And I know you're going to ask, how the hell is he doing that if he's a kid? Well, here's the thing. He records his voice on the Talk Boy and sets it on the slow setting. Make it sound like an old man's voice, but I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I get this is back then, before we have the technology of the day. So you get the point. But
yeah.
So he calls it in, uses he pre-records the voice, what you have to say, tell credit card. So he goes pay for it. And also there's a concierge there played by Tim Curry.
And then you also have Rob Schneider, who's played the bellboy.
Yep.
And then the woman that plays the female clerk, she looks like she could be a live-action Yzma in Emperor's New Groove.
Yep. And he goes, checks in. It worked, by the way. I don't know how that worked, but you get he makes them lie to pay for it. You get the point.
Yeah.
He goes upstairs. Even Tim Curry's character is like
a little suspicious.
So they go up there. Kevin gives Rob Schneider gum as a tip, which I'm like, man, I know I'm cheap, but damn.
Yeah.
But besides that, he does this whole shtick, going to the pool, does a cannonball.
Loses his shorts.
Yeah. While playing Jingle Bell Rocks.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Then they did the same shtick again, him watching the mob movies.
This time with a bunch of ice cream, like the first time.
And this time was different. It was a woman this time, and saying, "You were." He's like, "You were here last night, smooching my brother," and naming a lot of names. And he gets to the part like Mo with the gimpy leg. I'm like,
Yeah. So, Tim Curry's character decides that he's going to check on Kevin.
which that's not creepy by the way.
So then he uses the recording of Frank and uses this big inflatable clown that's supposed to go into the pool. They use that, and puts him in the bathtub and makes it seem like that his dad's taking a shower.
And he says at the end of the part, it says, "Get out here, you nosy little pervert! Or I'll slap you silly." But here's the thing, and when Tim Curry runs, you can hear the music playing. But here's the thing, he's saying after Frank says it in the first part, he goes back to singing.
Uncle Frankie.
Yeah, when he sings, when Kevin yells at him, he leaves, and you go back to the scene him singing again. I'm like, they did that in this scene. I'm like, wait, Kevin ran away. How did he get the other part?
Yeah.
But it's just one of the mistakes they didn't think about.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, he just ran out and kept.
Tries to apologize the next morning. Kevin's like, "Oh, Dad's already left."
Yeah, and you're wondering about the parents. They go to the police. They try to figure out. They don't know where he is. So, and now they try to get a picture of him. And then his dad had a picture. He reached for his wallet. He realized Kevin had his wallet. And they realized if he used his credit card, they could track it where he is.
And then she's like, "I don't even think Kevin could use a credit card." And that was before Kevin. That's when Kevin was currently at the Plaza Hotel checking in.
Yep, and then after that, after the next day, Kevin gets rents a limousine, gets a cheese pizza. But before that, he's telling, Tim Curry's character, what's going on. He's like, pizza. I'm like,
yeah. So they take Kevin to, around to see the sights, take him to a toy shop, runs into Harry and Marv, again, because they had escaped prison.
And now they're called the Sticky Bandits.
Yeah, so, basically Marv just wrapped his hand in, duct tape and was just stealing stuff with his hand.
Yeah, and besides that, they do the same thing, I know the part where, Kevin does run away from him.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. First they don't know it's him at first.
No, they noticed that it was him. They're just he just didn't realize who it was until.
Yeah, you're right. The first time he gets away, he uses fake string of pearls to break in. You get the point.
Yeah.
And he goes straight to the hotel. Tells Tim Curry's character, he's like, he knew the credit card was stolen.
Yeah, because he actually looked it up.
But here's the thing. They did that so they could find Kevin. And here's the thing. I thought this was I get Kevin's a kid, he's scared, but I'm like, dude, police, Beanie, they can catch him. And you can go back, but,
Yeah.
But besides that, he goes back to the hotel room, gets some stuff, and does the whole recording again. The same thing they did in the first
with the movie.
But it's with Tim Curry and the staff, and when he's leaning, when he says, "You're here smooching with my brother," and he's like, "Did I?" He's giving that look like, "Did I?"
Yeah.
But besides that, and when he gets down to the name Cliff, the security guard, his name's Cliff.
And then everybody's looking at him, he's like, "No, that's a lie."
And I'm like, but here's the thing, the TV's all the way in the, how can that be really loud to hear?
I mean, you can turn it up.
Yeah, but it's those 90s TVs, with those 90s TVs with a freaking box in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the point. Those TVs don't get that loud.
Yeah, they can.
Well, they can't. Well, either way.
I mean, with it being a hotel TV, probably.
Well, money, but whatever. But you get the point. He escapes. Harry and Marv caught him.
And they So the way that Kevin got away was there was this woman in front of him
Yes.
that Marv had his eye on, and he grabbed her butt.
I think was it grab or pinched?
I think it was pinching or something.
And I'm like, maybe as a kid it's fun, but when you're an adult and when you see a kid doing that, I'm like, oh boy, lawsuit ready to happen.
Yeah, so he manages to get away. And he goes over to his Uncle Rob's place, but they're renovating the place, so no one's there.
Yep.
So then he ends up using that as his little play place again, like he did for his own house. So he set up booby traps to catch Harry and Marv.
And here's the thing: when the family's in Florida, they're waiting for the call, and they got the call that they found Kevin. But here's the thing: like they were staying in the crappy motel since now Kevin's dad didn't have his credit card. This hotel was recommended by their brother Frank.
Yeah.
And he's like, didn't look that bad on our honeymoon. I'm like,
yeah, and they were like also it was raining too, so they really couldn't do anything.
Yeah, and they found him. They got to New York, but here's the thing: when they told him it was at night, and I'm like, okay, they're really going through a time warp or something. They got there really fast.
Yeah.
Again, but besides that, yes, they renovated the house. No one's there. Then Kevin runs in with the bird lady.
Yeah.
Who's nice, by the way. Homeless bird lady. Then, then he realized he needs to stop Harry and Marv from robbing Duncan's toy chest because Mr. Duncan does charity for the kids' hospital.
Yeah.
So he has like a big chest full
of money.
And
so he's going to donate to the children's hospital.
So Kevin, and he does it again, except at his Uncle Rob's house, and does the traps, goes to the toy store, throws a rock, sets out the alarm. You get the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
They do the whole stick, them getting hurt, falling down the stairs. Tool chest fell down the stairs and hit him.
Yeah.
And here, they did the paint cans again, but this was different. They knew it was going to happen again.
They knew it was coming, so they missed it. But then they're like, after the second one, they're like, okay, let's get it. And then he picks up like this huge metal pipe and just throws it, and it hits both of them and knocks both of them down.
Yeah, and they fell down through the floor down to the basement. And they climb up by stacking junk. And Harry's like, you sure about this? Yeah, I've done this before. Solid as a rock. And they all get up there. All the junk falls. And Harry's like a rock. Hey, Marv.
Oh, don't forget that at the beginning, he threw bricks.
Yes.
And it kept hitting Marv.
And I'm like, how the hell is he still alive?
Yeah.
But yes, he got hit in the head with bricks. And
I always felt so bad for him there.
I know. And they do the same shtick. Harry got his head torched again.
Yeah.
Except, and when he was like doing like a handstand into the toilet, it was full with gasoline or lighter fluid, and I'm like, he should be dead.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because he tried to turn the water on in the sink, and it wouldn't go, so then he turned off the taps again. He turned them on and then turned them off.
Yeah, and they go up the stairs, they pull the door, a tool chest falls down, and you get the point.
Yeah.
They go up to the roof, Kevin climbs down on the rope, and they're climbing on the rope to chase after him, but he lights the rope on fire.
Because it was doused in kerosene.
And that's also another thing. I'm like, how the hell is his gloves not caught on fire if it's doused with kerosene? Because, you know what I mean? Like,
he didn't have his gloves on, did he?
Maybe he didn't. Maybe he had his... Maybe he was barehanded. But you get the point.
Anyway, so he lights the rope on fire. They fall into a bunch of paint. And then they're covered in paint.
And Kevin calls the cops. They go to the Central Park. They caught him. They were trying to shoot him, but the gun was covered in paint. It wasn't going to work. And the bird lady comes, takes bird seed, puts it on him, and a bunch of pigeons and shit attacking them.
And Marv screaming like a little girl.
And he will do that in every movie. So
Yeah.
and the police comes, arrests them. Kevin's mom's going through the city trying to find him.
Yeah, because they had just arrived in New York, and they were berating the staff for letting them go, or for letting him disappear. And she's like, well, I'm going out to look for him, and she's like, you need to stay here. And she's like, no mugger, or with the way I'm feeling, no mugger or murderer will dare mess with me. Oh, before that, the Tim Curry was like telling her, be careful, and you shouldn't go out there. And she slaps him.
And he's like, okay, it's all the quote out, have a lovely.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to cry.
Well,
sorry.
He's lucky he got a slap on the face, because I know women who are mothers, if something happens to their kid, they'll go full mama bear.
Yeah.
Or Karen, if you want to per se.
Yeah. So she does end up finding him
at the Rockefeller's,
where there's a big giant Christmas tree.
Yeah, at Rockefeller Center. That's what it's called.
Yeah. And they reunite and they go back to the Plaza Hotel.
And they get gifts from Mr. Duncan.
Yeah.
And after that, Kevin goes finds the bird lady giving him a turtle dove. And the turtle dove are ceramic. Mr. Duncan gave it to him, saying if you have 2 turtle doves, if you give one to a friend, you'd be friends forever. I'm like, okay, that's sweet. And Rob Schneider comes in with a bill. Buzz is reading it. And one thing about the movie, Rob Schneider's like, hey, tip. Gives him his chewed up gum. And he's like looking at the bill. Gives it to his dad, and you hear, Kevin! From outside the hotel.
We spent $600 on room service, and then that's where the movie ends.
And that's one thing. His yelling kind of sounds like Harry, like Joe Pesci for a second.
Yeah.
But yes, he gets like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And it ends there. And pretty much the second one is like an old rehash, if you look at it.
Yeah. I actually prefer the first one.
I would go with the first one, 10 out of 10. Second one,
9 out of 10.
I would say 8, because they're using the same stick.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go 8 out of 10.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it for Home Alone.
And if I was you, I would give it a watch during the holidays. You can watch them on Disney Plus.
Now is definitely a good time to watch it.
And they're on Disney Plus. One, they're not Disney films; they're Fox films. But since Disney owns Fox, you can watch them on Disney Plus.
Yep. So next week's hint is: what if I fall off a roof?
And before we go, we are at 16 subscribers, folks. That means we need 85 more to get up to 100.
Once we get up to 100, we will show our faces and we will cosplay for you guys.
Yes, and please like, subscribe. If you got anything you want us to talk about, we'll take a look at it, get back to y'all. And remember, we have fun here. We have our opinions, and right now, just get back with us, please.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what you all think. Do you like Home Alone? Is it your favorite?
Movie?
Is it your favorite movie of the season, or
is it Elf?
Whatever. Leave that in the comments below.
Yes, and have fun and good luck.
Yeah. Bye, guys.